Imagine walking into a dealership, ready to buy a brand new car, and discovering you can drive one away for less than the price of a new iPhone collection or even a second-hand scooter. Sounds impossible, right? Well, Europe has just introduced a compact two-seater city car that costs under €9,000, and it's already being called a game-changer for urban mobility. Automobile electric light bulb. But here's the real twist. This little car isn't just about the low price. It's about redefining how we think of driving in busy cities, saving money, and reshaping the future of affordable electric and compact vehicles. At under €9,000, it immediately undercuts almost every other car on the European market. Even some electric scooters cost nearly half that amount when you factor in batteries and accessories. This makes it one of the most accessible vehicles in modern automotive history. The car isn't just cheap, it's built for city living. Its compact size allows drivers to slip into tight parking spots, zip through narrow streets, and handle urban traffic with ease. Yet, despite its size, the interior has been designed to maximize comfort, giving both driver and passenger just enough space for a surprisingly enjoyable ride. With cities tightening emissions regulations, this city car aligns perfectly with the shift toward greener, more sustainable urban travel. Whether powered by a small efficient petrol engine or an electric variant, it drastically reduces the environmental footprint compared to traditional vehicles. This is not the car for long road trips or hauling heavy loads, it's the car for everyday city life. Grocery runs, commuting to work, campus trips, or simply enjoying stress-free urban driving without the nightmare of expensive fuel or repairs. If this €9,000 two-seater gains traction, it could disrupt not only the European market but global automotive trends. Affordable, compact, and eco-friendly vehicles might soon become the standard for densely populated cities worldwide. In many ways, this little car represents freedom from high car payments, from rising fuel costs, and from the limitations of public transportation. So here's the big question. Would you trade your current car for this compact €9,000 city car if it meant more savings and less hassle? Or do you think it's simply too small for everyday life? And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of affordable city driving, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the latest breakthroughs shaping our roads and cities. Because sometimes, the smallest car can start the biggest revolution. Globe showing Europe-Africa automobile. But here's where things get even more fascinating. This two-seater is not just about affordability. It's part of a much larger trend quietly sweeping across Europe, the rise of micromobility cars. Governments, especially in countries like France, Germany, and Italy, are now actively supporting these smaller vehicles with tax incentives, free parking zones, and even subsidies for eco-friendly city cars. Why? Because compact vehicles help reduce traffic congestion, pollution, and parking chaos, three of the biggest headaches for modern cities. And while the €9,000 price tag is grabbing headlines, the real game-changer lies in who is building these cars. Established automakers are starting to feel the pressure as new startups and innovative manufacturers disrupt the traditional market. These small companies aren't weighed down by decades of expensive production chains. Instead, they're agile, fast-moving, and focused entirely on the needs of the urban driver. You might think a budget car means bare minimum features, but this two-seater challenges that stereotype. Safety-first design, reinforced body, airbags, and stability features, proving that cheap doesn't mean unsafe. Many of these microcars include smartphone integration, USB charging, and even app-based remote controls. Range and efficiency. Depending on the model, electric versions can cover up to 150 kilometers on a single charge, more than enough for the average city driver, whose daily commute is usually under 20 kilometers. This blend of practicality and affordability could transform the car into a cultural phenomenon, much like the Fiat 500 or the original Mini once did in their eras. And here's the kicker: what starts in Europe rarely stays in Europe. China, India, and several African nations are also exploring ultra-low-cost cars for their rapidly growing urban populations. The demand is clear. People want affordable mobility without sacrificing modern design and eco-friendliness. That means this €9,000 car isn't just a local story, it could spark a global wave of innovation, forcing major carmakers to rethink their strategies. Of course, Every revolution faces resistance. This €9,000 city car might look like the perfect solution, but not everyone is convinced. Traditional carmakers argue that ultra-compact cars can never match the crash safety of larger vehicles. And while modern engineering has improved protection, regulators will be watching closely to ensure these cars meet strict European standards. Many drivers still associate cheap with low quality. Overcoming that stigma will be a battle. After all, convincing someone to downsize from a family SUV to a tiny two-seater is no easy task. For electric variants, questions remain about charging infrastructure. Will cities adapt quickly enough to support thousands of these vehicles hitting the streets? Or will owners find themselves struggling to keep their small EVs powered up? Yet, despite these challenges, momentum is building. Consumers are voting with their wallets, and early sales suggest a growing appetite for compact, affordable, and eco-conscious mobility. What we're really witnessing here is more than just the arrival of a cheap city car. It's the beginning of a mindset shift. For decades, owning a car meant freedom, power, and status. But in today's crowded, expensive cities, the definition of freedom is changing. True freedom is not about horsepower, it's about affordability, accessibility, and efficiency. This €9,000 city car represents exactly that. It's not about luxury, it's about liberation from debt, fuel dependency, and congestion. It's the kind of car that could inspire a whole new generation to embrace smarter mobility, much like the bicycle once did during Europe's Industrial Revolution. And here's where things get even more interesting. Major automakers are paying attention. Brands that once laughed at microcars are now quietly developing their own prototypes, afraid of being left behind. Some insiders believe this new category could eventually become as influential as the SUV boom of the 1990s. Because if cars like this succeed, we could see a world where city streets are filled with sleek, affordable, two-seaters, reducing pollution, easing traffic, and making transportation accessible for millions more people. Behind the scenes, a quiet tug-of-war is unfolding. On one side, governments see compact cars as a lifeline for crowded cities, less pollution, less traffic, and a push toward climate goals. They're offering incentives, subsidies, and even special traffic privileges to drivers of these cars. On the other side, traditional automakers are uneasy. Why? Because a €9,000 car threatens to shatter the profit model of the auto industry. For decades, companies have relied on selling high-margin SUVs and luxury vehicles. A flood of affordable two-seaters could force them to rethink their entire business. One striking story comes from Paris, where delivery riders have started switching to these two-seaters. Why? They're faster than scooters in traffic, safer in bad weather, and still cheaper to operate than a traditional car. Similar reports are emerging in Berlin, Milan, and Madrid, early adopters finding clever ways to make the €9,000 car part of their daily lives. It's becoming clear, this isn't just a niche experiment. It's a lifestyle shift. What's truly fascinating is the cultural impact. In the past, cars symbolized size and power. Today, in many European cities, the ultimate status symbol might soon be the opposite: a sleek, affordable car that proves you're smart, eco-conscious, and financially savvy. Younger generations, especially Gen Z, are leading this change. For them, minimalism and sustainability matter more than showing off horsepower. Owning a car that costs less than €9,000 fits perfectly into that mindset. Less clutter, more freedom. What's happening in Europe isn't staying in Europe. Countries across Asia, Africa, and South America are watching closely, and for good reason. Take China, for example. The country already dominates the world's electric vehicle market, producing compact EVs at record-breaking scale. If Europe's €9,000 two-seater finds success, Chinese automakers could replicate the formula, only cheaper and faster, potentially flooding global markets with budget-friendly city cars. In India, where traffic congestion and affordability are constant challenges, this model could completely reshape urban mobility. Imagine a car small enough to navigate the tight lanes of Delhi or Mumbai, priced low enough to rival motorbikes and tuk-tuks. The impact would be massive. And then there's Africa. Here, mobility isn't just about convenience, it's about opportunity. Millions of people rely on public minibuses and motorcycles. An affordable two-seater could give families their first taste of private mobility at a fraction of the cost of conventional cars. The ripple effects on business, education, and quality of life could be transformational. But there's another twist: the rise of tech companies in the automotive space. Giants like Apple, Xiaomi, and even ride-sharing firms such as Uber and Bolt have toyed with the idea of producing vehicles. A €9,000 compact car could be their perfect entry point. Unlike traditional automakers, these companies already thrive on digital ecosystems. Imagine a car designed not around horsepower, but around apps, connectivity, and seamless integration with your smartphone. A city car that feels more like a gadget than a vehicle. This is why the €9,000 two-seater matters so much. It's not just a cheap car, it's a blueprint. If successful, it could spark a domino effect where countries, automakers, and tech companies race to make mobility more accessible, more digital, and more eco-friendly than ever before. Another fascinating possibility is how these cars could integrate with public transportation systems. Instead of replacing buses or trains, compact two-seaters could serve as the last-mile solution. You take a train into the city, hop into your small two-seater waiting at a mobility hub, and glide the final kilometers home. No waiting for a taxi, no relying on scooters, just a personal car that fits neatly into your daily commute. This hybrid system, public transport plus microcars, could dramatically reduce reliance on larger, fuel-hungry vehicles in cities. But as with all revolutions, there's a deeper layer: the social impact. Will owning a €9,000 car become the new symbol of practical intelligence, marking a shift away from flashy, high-cost vehicles? Or could it create a divide, where those who stick with large, traditional cars are seen as out of touch, while the younger, tech-savvy crowd embraces the new era? Cultural identity has always been tied to cars, and this shift may spark debates not just about transportation, but about what kind of society we want to build. The €9,000 two-seater isn't just another car, it's a statement. A statement that mobility doesn't have to be expensive, that sustainability can be accessible, and that innovation doesn't always come from adding more horsepower or luxury, it can come from stripping things down to what people truly need. If this revolution continues, our cities could look very different in the next decade: quieter, cleaner, and less congested. Big automakers will either adapt or risk being left behind, while tech companies, startups, and everyday consumers drive the change forward. The future of mobility may not be bigger, it may, in fact, be smaller, smarter, and within reach for everyone.